Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Ramblings from Two Meddling Kids. I'm Edward Hunt, joined by my fellow chocolatier,
Mike Cunningham.
and we are the Meddling Kids, and we like to review movies. Today, we'll be reviewing Wonka. For those of you joining for the first time, welcome. It's great to have you here. For those of you who've come back, extra chocolate for you. We'll never spoil anything in the first, let's call it 10, 15 minutes. We're going to give a spoiler-free review from 0 to 5, then some background of the movie, and then really our play-by-play with our thoughts from scene to scene. So again, if you haven't seen Wonka yet, don't go anywhere. Listen and maybe you'll find out if you should or not. Mike, 0 to 5, you ready?
Yes.
All right, what'd you give it?
3.
Okay.
With the possibility of going up to 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
I like this movie a lot more than I thought I would, if I'm being honest.
Okay, you like this movie a lot more than I thought you would.
I thought it was fun. It was heartfelt. It was like cute. Like it was very much like for kids, but it did have that family movie feel.
Sure,
which has been rare for a very long time. Is like it's either a film for adults or a film for kids. There's like that in between has been lost for a while.
Yeah.
So I felt that with this one, it was like. It was cute moments. There was heartfelt moments, but then it got a little bit darker to tell a deeper story.
Definitely.
And I really appreciated that. I think the visuals were great. The performances were good. I think my biggest gripe was just the lead, Timothée Chalamet.
Okay.
But that had nothing to do with his acting overall. It was when he was trying to be wacky.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like you got that a lot in the trailer because obviously Gene Wilder was the one before this
and Johnny Depp,
right?
Yeah.
So there was very much a wackiness, a silliness to it.
Mm-hmm.
But Gene Wilder was that's just who he was.
Yeah.
Right. There was no faking that performance.
Mm-hmm.
And Johnny Depp, you've seen him be a kooky weirdo for most
Johnny
of his
Depp,
career.
kooky weirdo.
So it's like that's not. I don't want to say that's not acting, but it's not him going out of his way.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with this performance, I think Timothée Chalamet was trying to be not even Gene Wilder, like basically trying to be Jim Carrey, the Riddler, or something like that.
Okay.
And it took me out of the film every time he tried to be wacky.
Fair. Yeah.
But outside of that, like his actual performance when he was being like I don't want to say regular or normal, but just being a human being without trying to showcase like the wonkiness of things.
Yeah.
I thought his performance was fine. So the music, I don't think it'll last per se. Like there were certain songs that I did like, even though you know me, I don't really like musicals.
Fair.
It didn't take me all the way out of the movie because I had to remember once again, like I said, the movie comes in and he starts singing and I was just like, oh God, fuck me. God damn it. But then I was like, oh, wait a minute, Wonka. Boom.
Yeah.
But I feel like they did it was a little bit different in the original.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously there was songs in it, but I was like, I got a golden ticket, like stuff like that. But yeah, so like I said, I think I enjoyed this one a lot more than I thought I would. And the only thing that really took me out were Timothée Chalamet trying to be wacky.
Fair.
That's just not his. It's like Robin Williams didn't try to be wacky.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like even Will Smith had those moments or something like that. I can give you a list of actors, but it was just like they're not trying to be that. That's just who they are naturally.
Yeah.
And you can tell that authenticity reads well regardless, right? So like that was my only issue. And then I feel like a better movie, like the better movie was his adventures before this one.
For sure.
I think that's what, and it gave me Joker vibes, like we talked about, where it's like my thoughts on that Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix. I thought it was going to be his rise to power in Gotham, not his descent into madness.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's a different story, a quote unquote better story to tell. So the same thing with this one. I thought his adventures to getting back to before he created the factory was a much better story.
Fair.
Than what we got, which was, like I said, I did still enjoy this one, but I feel like a prequel to this one is what I was looking for.
Definitely.
But yeah, so 3 out of 5 for me with a possibility of going up to a 3.5.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to go with a 3.5, though actually really upon reflection and thinking about what you said about Timothée Chalamet, that makes a lot of sense. Timothée Chalamet is a phenomenal actor. Yeah. He's Paul fucking Atreides, all right, first and foremost, all right. He's Muad'Dib, all right, like the Dune Arrakis. But it is kind of, I do agree, he doesn't do goofy that well.
No.
And, I think
it's because he played sex symbol for so long. But and this crazy thing is like Ryan Gosling played sex symbol his whole career, but it was like he can still give you, there's hints of that charm and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's why he was able to do such a great Ken.
I think it's partially because like Timothée Chalamet's look he has like that like gaunter model look. Versus, Ryan Gosling's a very attractive man, but Ryan Gosling doesn't look gaunt.
I guess he's more an approachable attractive.
Yeah, I think it's a little more approachable. Yeah, Timothée Chalamet's attractiveness is like put it on a pedestal, you know what I mean? And like, don't touch it. You know, that's a little more him.
You just called a grown man to work over at Nova.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, no, very different. Yeah. So I think because of that, seeing him do some of these goofy things, I agree, didn't always go that well. But I do still think like there was some good goofiness to it that worked pretty well. Yeah, I mean, got a little bit of background. I love Roald Dahl. His stories, I know he's a questionable character at times, but like his story is phenomenal. So I like this movie that it kept some of the past Roald Dahl movies more so into it. Like I got some hints of Matilda in this. I got some hints of, you know, obviously Willy Wonka and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for sure. Which was really cool. They really leaned into Wonka being magic here, which might go slightly against Willy Wonka lore. You know, just
I think it was like there were moments where it was just like, all right, so what part? How much of this is real?
Yeah, how much of this is real? What's this just in your head? Are you just a crazy person at times? Yeah. But no, as a whole, I think they really did a lot that, as you said, everyone's going to like here. Kids are going to like it. You know, there's some Easter eggs, not really Easter eggs, but like references back to the other movies that you'll like. If you really look at this from like a continuity perspective, it falls a little bit, I think, because I know like Slugworth is an enemy in the, you know, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory as well. And you're like, how is he an enemy here and there? But as a whole, it was a fun movie. There were times I'm blanking on which scene it was, but I was just laughing to myself in the theater because I thought it was so funny and cute. So as a whole, I'm giving it 3.5 out of 5. I liked it. I'd say go for it. Though I do agree, there's no songs that come in my head. No like earworms.
I think I like the one with Noodle and Wonka. I did enjoy it, like because she started singing and
like I said, they were singing together.
It was very much cute, but I don't think they just have the staying power of some of the like some of the other songs from the prior films.
For sure, yeah. But yeah, as a whole, solid movie. I'd say go check it out. All right, let's get some background on this thing.
Okay, so Wonka was released December 15th, 2023. The runtime is an hour and 56 minutes. Sorry. The budget is $125 million. Right now, the box office obviously it just came out. It just has its U.S. release, so we'll see. I think it's projected to make about $40 million in the first week in the U.S. It made about $40 million internationally because it came out a week prior. Gotcha. So right now the box office is at $46 million, with 42 of that being made overseas.
Got you. Okay.
I think the Thursday night showing it was about $3.5 million.
Okay.
But you never know. I mean, my theater was fairly empty, but like you just never know.
Yeah, at 3:30 in the afternoon on a Thursday, my theater was also pretty empty. Yeah.
The Rotten Tomatoes right now is an 84 critic score, 88 audience. So
cool.
I think people are enjoying it.
Yeah.
The genre is adventure, comedy, family, fantasy. Jesus Christ. Checking all the boxes.
Yeah, I know. We're writing it all down.
The director is Paul King, who had previously written and directed the Paddington movies.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I think that's why they really were leaning into like his specialty with this one. The cast, you have Timothy Chalamet as Willy Wonka, Kayla Lane as Noodle, Hugh Grant as Lofty the Oompa Loompa.
Yeah. God, Hugh Grant did phenomenal. Yeah. I loved Hugh Grant as that Oompa Loompa. Yeah.
It's crazy he didn't have more scenes.
Yeah.
They really made it seem like he was going to be more prominent. But I guess also in the same way they made it seem like Wonka was going to be very much wackier.
Yeah, fair.
So undersold, or whatever it is. Keegan-Michael Key as the police chief, Patterson Joseph as Arthur Slugworth, Matt Lucas as Prodnose. That was one of the mafia guys.
The chocolatiers.
Matthew Banton as Fickle Gruber. Jesus Christ. Sally Hawkins as Mama Wonka. Rowan Atkinson as Father Julius. Olivia Colman as Mrs. Scrubbit. And Jim Carter as Crunch. That was the other
Scrubbit.
No. The guy crunching the numbers.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah.
And then the tagline is "Discover how Willie became," and then obviously
Wonka. Got you.
So that's the background of that.
Cool. You know, and I do agree. I think like from a story wise, the adventures of him collecting all these ingredients would be a pretty cool story.
Like honestly, that's your fantasy. Like,
yeah. Because here it's like, I mean, but that's honestly, I think that's a harder story to tell than how he's getting his first factory and whatnot. But yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, cool. All right, so before we get into our spoilers, everybody, which are coming up, a quick word from our sponsors. Hey, what's going on? I'm Edward Hunt. I'm on the Just Be team with Compass Real Estate, and we're all about finding where you're meant to be. Personally, I'm in the DMV, that is DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So if you want any advice on the market or want to know what's going on with things, feel free to reach out to me anytime, and I can give you a rundown. Also, even more than that, if you need a phenomenal handyman or contractor for any projects you have at home, I have phenomenal connections, and I can connect you with them, obviously, because they're connections. And then last but not least, if you need any lenders for HELOC, refinance, or you want to know what you can get or how interest rates are looking, I can connect you with some great lenders. And then finally, a great thing with Compass is we are nationwide. So no matter where you are in America, I can make sure to connect you with a phenomenal agent. And last but not least, Hunt.comics. I'm Edward Hunt of the Hunt Comics. I'm a comic writer, and we have issue 1 of my first series on Amazon Kindle. Should be available for physical copies on Amazon shortly, and for free on Global Comics. So check it out. All right, let's get into some spoiler sections. So how does this movie, it's Willy Wonka, so he really likes fruit, or I don't know, I'm trying to be funny, I'm failing. Chocolate, go for it.
Yeah, so we open up with a boat arriving on some country. We don't know specifically where.
Which I liked. You didn't really know where the hell this was.
At the end, like at the library scene or something like that, it said Universal Dad or something like. So I thought maybe like France or I don't know.
It
language.
Felt European.
We're
somewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
Really.
But anyway, so he's arriving to this country by boat, and he starts just singing the first song, and it was just like about his arrival and him being away, not being away, him being at sea for 7 years. I think that was a distinction I needed to make, because I thought he was returning home, but that's not the case. He's been at sea for 7 years, like just adventuring, collecting supplies, and like just really honing in on his skill as a chocolatier.
Yeah, and everyone called him Cook, right? Or a lot of people I guess he was either ship cook or something.
Probably.
I think people were calling him
That
Cook.
could make sense.
Yeah.
So he arrives to the country, and he's saying now he has 10 shillings or whatever.
He had 12 silver sterlings or whatever. Or 12 silver, whatever. Yeah.
And so, like, as he's walking through this town, like his goal was to get to this town because of the Gallery Gourmet. This is like the center where you want to sell chocolate.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, like, as he's like walking through the town, he initially said he had 12 silver coins or whatever. And then, like, he just keeps getting jacked for his coins. So it's just like, you got the shoe shine kid that he stands outside of a shop that he wants to buy.
Yeah.
And he just starts daydreaming. And this is where you, like, even initially you couldn't tell, like, all right, what's real, what's not.
Yeah, because he's, like, twirling down a pole super slow. Yeah. He's jumping off a car.
Like, there's people dancing around him. And I'm just like, and then, but you see it jump back to reality. And it's just him, like... dancing by himself.
That was hysterical. The fact that, like, he's just in here looking like a crazy person right here. Yeah.
And then a cop comes up and like points to a sign that says "Daydreaming $3 or whatever." So he's forced to pay $3 more, and then like he goes to pick up a pumpkin, he drops it, so he has to pay for the He gets hit by the shoe shine kid again, so it's just like now he's down to like 3.
Yeah.
At the like and end of this song, he's down to 3 shillings.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know why I say shillings. It's giving me a Scrooge.
Yeah, fair. Schmeckles. Yeah.
But so now he's like down to 3. And then like this lady with a baby, because now it's like nighttime.
Yeah.
And she's like, could you spare us a silver coin basically so that I can get a room? So when he just holds out his hand and says, take what you need. So clearly, I think he says he had 3.
Yeah, he had like 2 or 3 left. Yeah.
And then like, so now he just has one coin left. And he goes to toss it up and into his pocket, and it falls down a grate. Yeah.
Well, he does. He catches it in his pocket, but there's a hole in his pocket, so then it goes down right the grate.
And so, like, initially, you just see like this man, like this young man that's like clearly adventurous, entrepreneurial, loves magic and chocolate, and he has dreams of just starting his own candy shop. Yeah,
he wants to share his chocolate with the world. Like it's a really good intro to him as a person. It's like he's idealistic. Yep. He's kind. Even when he has nothing, he still is giving away what little he has. And like he wants the world to be a good place. And he's very skilled, but also clumsy in the way that like because he gets the coin
from the intro. Was just like, especially him keep getting hit by like the shoe shine kid. Just like he's traveled the world, but still somehow naive.
Yeah.
which was interesting because, like I said, when initially I thought he was returning home because he mentions he was like, "We made it, Mama," or something like that.
Fair.
So I thought maybe he was coming, had returned after travels, but
maybe he's just never really been to cities.
Yeah,
because he got all the ingredients from random places, not cities.
And so now he's without any money to buy himself a room to start off.
Yeah.
And so he's just hunkers down in an alleyway somewhere. And like he's like, and this is another more magic shit. He's like pulling shit out of his hat.
He pulls like 7 things out of his hat. Yeah.
And like he makes himself a cup of like hot cocoa or something like that.
And he also blows on a candle.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like starting there, like he pulls out a candle and blows on it and it lights. And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get grounded in this. The realism versus magic.
Yeah. How magic is he? Because he had this dance number where he was dancing and singing by himself. Yeah. So we saw that. But then I'm assuming there's all this other crazy kind of magical stuff going. So like, where are we exactly?
Yeah. Anyway, so he's basically hunkered down for the night because of the fact that he doesn't have money for a room. And he gets kind of attacked by this dog that like, he makes a quick remark about he bought the pants from a mailman or something like that. So the dog... dogs chase mailmen, so that's why he was drawn to Willie or whatever.
God, the classic. It's this movie's so cool in the way that it's just almost timeless because there's the stereotype, but dogs chasing mailmen. So it's like a pure naive kind of thing happening here, which I really appreciated.
And so the dog's owner, what's his name? God damn it! It is Bleacher,
yeah, super deep voice, man.
Yeah, he comes up and he's just like, are you gonna sleep there tonight? He was like, you won't be alive in the morning because it's way too cold. And then we see that his cup of hot cocoa is like frozen over.
Yeah, already.
Yeah, and he's like, but Wonka says, but I have no money, and like. Bleacher has his back turned him and he smiles and he goes, we might be able to fix that.
Yeah. He's like, oh no, I'm so upset about this. But he wasn't upset.
Clearly nefarious. Yeah. But so he takes him to a laundry woman named Mrs. Scrubbit.
Yeah.
And initially she's like, what the fuck you want? Like, she obviously doesn't care, it's a PG movie.
Yeah.
But she's just very just aggressive, like, what do you want? It's too late at night or whatever. And then like she sees that he brought her a customer.
Yeah.
And her whole attitude changes.
She's like, oh, you don't say.
Yeah, so she offers him a glass of gin to warm up by the fire.
Yep.
And then she's like, yeah, we have a room. And Willie once again says, I don't have any money.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, Bleacher says.
Yeah, he says he's embarrassed, which means he has no money.
Yeah. And so Mrs. Scrubbit basically gives him a deal, just like, I'll let you stay the night, but you need to pay up. You need to settle up tomorrow at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
With one silver coin.
And it's just one silver coin? Yeah. That should be easy to make for an entrepreneurial man like him.
So he goes to just sign the contract or whatever. And what would you consider Noodle to be for them?
Little orphan girl?
Yeah. It's like a title. I was trying to give her a title. Jesus Christ. I'm more than what I am.
She's the log, the little orphan girl.
But so Noodle is there, and she's trying to warn Willie, and she goes, right before he goes to sign it, she whispers, read the fine print.
Yes.
Yeah. And he hears it, and so does Miss Scrubbit, and she kind of shoos her away.
Yeah.
But Willie heard it, so he goes, maybe let me read the fine print. So he goes to read it, and it's just like this comically long scroll, basically, of all this fine print.
And I love, because it's a callback to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, where Wonka's like, you should have read the fine print. It's right there. Yeah, absolutely.
And so he questions it, and then, Miss Scrubbit is just like, oh, this is like boilerplate, it's standard, or whatever. And he's like, you can read it if you want to.
Yeah.
And then he goes, I think I will.
Yep, exactly.
And so as he says that, he's leaning and reading it. Bleacher gets up, kind of walks towards him.
With a club.
Yeah, with a club. And then right as he's about to hit Willie, Willie goes, everything seems fine.
Yep, everything seems fine to me. I'm like, all right. Yeah.
And then so he signs it. She shows him to his room. And I think, that's the end of that.
And I think Noodle gets thrown in the...
yes. So Noodle gets thrown into the coop for disobeying Scrubbit.
And the coop is like this room up in a tower where like birds and stuff can go in, so very cold, etc. It's like the Chokey from Matilda, but without all the pokey bits. Yeah,
that's where you're getting.
Yes, Oh, definitely like the Scrubbit and all that. I got a lot of Matilda vibe from that.
And with Noodle, Miss Trunchbull.
Yeah, exactly, with Miss Trunchbull, and you get like that whole, because Roald Dahl as a whole, and like the movies as well, it's very much like, here's a child that needs to rise to these like grand occasions and figure out what's going on, or like, so like you look witches, Matilda, obviously BFG, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, all of that's like, here's a child that needs to rise to the occasion. But something great with Roald Dahl is, I would say, like, none of his books are really like children's books, because
look at the witches. Like,
the witches, BFG has giants reaching into children's windows and eating them. None of them are like books for children. It's a book where the main character is a child who then rises to the occasion, and that's something great with Roald Dahl.
But so the next day, Willie knows that he needs to go sell some chocolate, one to pay for his room, but also just to get started in with his candy business. So he goes to the gallery again and gives a presentation. Like, he gets a crowd, and he also gets the attention of the Candy Cartel. Which is like a trio of Slughorn, Fickle Gruber.
I think is it Slughorn or Slugworth?
Slugworth. I'm so sorry.
No, Slughorn is Harry Potter. That's why I was confusing it a lot too. I couldn't remember. I thought
Slugworth. Slugworth, Fickle Gruber, and Prodnose.
Yes,
they are the three heads of the Candy Cartel,
and they're bitter rivals.
Yes, and so they all come out as well and like to watch Willie's presentation. He's obviously very charismatic and very animated. He's showing bits of his magic, as well. And he mentions that this is probably the greatest chocolate you ever have. I can't remember. It's like a Hovercrock, I believe, was the candy.
Yeah.
And so the three of them try it, and they're like, Slugworth goes, really animated. He was like, "This is, oh my god, it's the worst chocolate I've ever had."
Well, because it's like, you get this whole thing of like Willie's or Wonka's like, what does he say? It's the caramel is from somewhere, but it's salted with the tears of a clown, and like there's cherries from wherever, and then there's blah blah blah. So like all these super crazy ingredients, and the Slugworth is like, I can say this is the worst I've ever had. And
then like what's his name? Wonka feigns like, like he's really hurt. And then he said it was a hovercrock or whatever. So like shortly after, you see the three of them from the Candy Cartel start floating.
For the record, putting a random wild animal in chocolate and feeding it to
people. I
don't
know how true it is.
I'm just saying. To make them start floating and flying. I'm just saying,
But so the three of them start floating, and they're like, obviously the crowd's like, because Slugworth goes, who will want this?
Who wants chocolate that will make you fly?
And then he was like, I don't know, you tell me. And then the crowd just comes, and he just for one silver piece each or whatever, everybody gets, everybody gets a chocolate, and people start floating. And then before the cartel had come outside, they had called the cops. So like the cops show up shortly after and start like pulling people.
They have like sticks, they're like pulling people down, like poking at them.
And because of the fact that you're not allowed to sell candy without a shop, they take all of Willie's earnings.
And Michael Keegan Keys, there's like, it's gonna go to charity or something. He just grabs it and walks away.
And so, but his deputy or like whatever, something like that, is a little bit like he was the one that charged him for daydreaming the day before.
So I kind of thought his deputy was like the bigger dick, all this, but
you can tell he has a bit of a heart, because
he's just a rule follower, which I get
exactly. So he's a lawful lawman.
Exactly.
And so like Willie's like, can you at least spare, because they said they're going to take his earnings. He's like, can you at least spare me a silver piece so that I can pay for my room? And the guy kind of looks around, and then, even though it's like, I guess against the rule, he still gives him the silver.
Yes, exactly.
So Willie's a little bit defeated, but at least he's made enough to settle up with Mrs. Scrubbit.
Thank goodness. I can't imagine what would happen if he couldn't settle up with Mrs. Scrubbit.
And so he goes back to, go back home or whatever. And he goes to, she sees that like the day didn't go well. But he was at least I have enough money to settle up with you. And she goes, well, let's check that. And like she pulls out this whole ledger.
Ridiculous.
And basically, because of the fine print, She charged him for everything. Walking up the stairs, up and down.
Up and down the stairs, using the soap. Everyone knows you shouldn't use the minibar. If there's a minibar, the minibar is soap. That was hysterical.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
Because it was like, I'm thinking, all right, $200. Like, that's how. So this is like what she was charging him, like I assume a sleeping fee.
Yeah.
He slept on the bed and not on the floor like a dumbass.
Exactly. He rented the pillow. There was a sheet and pillow rental, warming up by the fire.
Well, so all of this cost him $10,000.
Yeah.
And then she's like, you can earn it back by working for $1 a day, basically.
Good God.
In the laundry.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
27 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Did the math.
Yeah. Immediately, she just knew it.
Yeah, she knows.
And so, like, they push him down the chute, the laundry chute, and he lands in the basement where we meet the other people who have fallen for this trap.
Yeah.
So anybody that stays with Miss Scrubbit is basically like just doomed to a lifetime of servitude in her laundry.
Hey, it's only 27 years, not a lifetime. All right, come on.
You think the accountant was getting out of there?
Yeah, maybe one day. Scrub.
Yeah. So then we get another musical number of like just what they do down there.
Yeah, they scrub.
They just scrub. That's it. And so like I think we meet 4 other characters. So there was like the mechanic or whatever, or the plumber that he called her.
Yep, the plumber, the accountant,
the woman that worked at the telephone, and then the comedian.
Yeah, the comedian.
They had all, once again, fallen for the trick. And so, like, they get introduced. They introduce him to what he's going to be doing for the rest of his, for the next 20 years or whatever.
Yep. He stirs the pot. Like all the laundry.
So it's just laundry or whatever. And so at the same time, I think we meet the candy cartel or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
And like, because I guess they're feeling embarrassed after the presentation with Wonka.
Yeah.
And they're like, so they invite the police chief down.
Which hysterical that Mr. Bean, I don't remember the actor's name.
Oh
Mr.
my
Bean.
God.
Yeah.
I don't know how much, I didn't realize how much I missed Mr. Bean.
Right.
I find myself like there's random clips I guess on Instagram or something like that. And it was just like, I didn't realize how much I missed it.
Yeah.
We were talking about like the wackiness of it.
Yes. Oh my God.
Unnatural.
Yeah. Oh, so natural. Because when the police chief goes in and he's like, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned," and he like hands the chocolate to Father Francis. Julius. Yeah. And he's just like, "It's understandable. It's okay to be tempted." And he just like pops the chocolate in his mouth. And I was like, "Oh my God." Yeah. Yeah. He was I guess he was a smaller part, but such a good part.
Yeah.
Every scene he was in was great.
And so they call on the police chief, I guess to pay him for the fact that he locked up, or he got cleared out Wonka.
Yeah. Well, because now it's clear because at first for the crowd, all 3 chocolatiers are bitter rivals and they're competing against one another. But we find out at this point, no, they all work together. And they all work together.
Find out now or a little bit later?
Well, they're all sitting together hanging out. So I'm assuming.
Yeah, but I assume there's this. I feel like the accountant gives a
story
a little bit later.
Yeah. But I mean, you see that you see that they're together.
Yeah, there's the rivalry isn't as bitter as you would make it seem.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now, and obviously they've been paying the police chief to like handle their business. They pay him in chocolate for getting rid of Wonka, but then they're like, they don't like the spark that he has.
Yeah.
Because you can very much see they're businessmen.
Yeah.
And they've been running the town for a very long time. Like they don't really, because the guy mentioned Fickle Gruber says he's only offered
for the one.
He's only like, you only have to pay 1 silver coin for this. It's like, that means everybody can have chocolate, even the poor. And he can't say the word poor. That's his thing.
Whenever anyone says poor, he like vomits a little bit in his mouth. And then you have the other chocolatier guy who's prod nose, and he's just like, when you say take care of, we mean kill. And this happens later, but he's just very literal.
It overstayed its welcome, and then it came back a little bit better. Exactly. And I think it's that rule of comedy was like you repeat until it's funny again.
Yeah, exactly. It was funny, then it wasn't funny, and then it was good again. Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, so basically they want to hire the police chief to kill Wonka.
Yeah.
Because like I said, they see this spark and he can be a disruption to their empire.
Yeah.
And so the police chief's like, love chocolate. He was like clearly a lover of chocolate, but he's like, I can't do it.
His wife wants him to cut back on the chocolate anyway.
So it's like they offer him a certain amount, and this is where we get another song where they're just trying to convince him to murder Wonka. And then like I think they offer him like first it was like 70 or like 100 and then 700. And then it went up to 1800. He goes, okay,
deal. He's like, deal. Immediately on 1800, he's like, deal, absolutely. Yeah. And they're all like, who needs to see your feet anyway?
Yeah,
who cares what your wife says?
It was just like, yeah, you can get a tailor to cover up any weight you gain.
Yeah.
And so now we see like their inner workings a bit, where like they've hired a police chief, and so back at Scrubbits or whatever, like he's completed his first day.
Yeah.
In servitude, and then they go up to their rooms or whatever, because they all have rooms on like not as elegant as the ones that they were offered before, but they all have rooms upstairs. This is where you get Noodle, because he saw that Noodle was like delivering laundry when he was giving his presentation in the gallery. And so, like, she comes to his room to bring him dinner.
Yep, slop. Everyone gets a cup of slop.
And he's like, what the fuck is this? And he says that all he wants to do is create chocolate. And Noodle mentioned that she's never had chocolate before. Yeah.
Then the classic, you've never had chocolate? No. You've never had chocolate?
And that's what I'm saying. It was like those moments was like, I don't think you delivered like you thought.
Fair, yeah. But I mean, I thought it was cute when she was like, still no. Still never had. You've been a million times.
I think it was like, Noodle played a very good straight person.
Yes.
To the wackiness of Wonka.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so because she's never had chocolate before, he offers to make her some. And this is where we get a bit of his backstory. Like, he mentioned that like he and his mother lived on a boat, on a river. And like they didn't have a lot of money, but every day she would bring a cocoa bean.
One cocoa bean. Yeah.
And then by the time his birthday rolled around, she had enough to make a bar of chocolate.
Yes.
So like that kind of started his love of chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
And then he mentioned that like his dream would be to like make chocolate or something like that.
Yeah. And share it with the world, because once he shares the chocolate with the world, his mother promised to be there with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what. Yeah. So if you find, as he's sitting there making, his mom is making the chocolate for his birthday or whatever, and he mentions his dream, and like he kind of gets deterred from it because she just says, "Oh, that's a nice dream to have," but to him it wasn't a dream. It was like, "No, this is what I want."
Exactly. Yeah.
And so when he finds out it's just a dream, that sounds like something that's fictional, not something that actually happened. So like she kind of says, all the greatest things started with a dream.
Yep. Yeah.
Trying to reassuring him. And then he mentions that that chocolate bar was the last thing, because shortly after that she got sick and passed away.
Yeah. So he still has that chocolate bar that she made, because he wanted to know the secret ingredient. Because she has a secret ingredient that she will never tell him or never told. Yeah.
And so he still has the same chocolate bar. He never opened it, and it has like the little W. Oh, it says Wonka on it, right?
Yeah, I think it says Wonka. Yeah.
And so he makes, what's her name?
Noodle. Yeah, so while he's telling the story, he's making her a piece of chocolate.
And it's, a very cool looking piece of chocolate. And it says something about like, suggestive, or like it was like a certain type of chocolate that would like.
Well, because there were bottled thunderstorms in it. Like he literally had in his little suitcase was like a thunderstorm in a bottle and and like sunlight in a bottle, and it was like the thunderstorm here and the sunlight to wash it away and give you ideas or something.
Yes, that's what it was like. The purpose of the chocolate was to give ideas.
Yeah,
and so like she takes a bite and she loves it, but then she puts it down because she was like, now every day without chocolate.
Jesus. And I
was like, God damn.
I wish you wouldn't have done that, because now every day without chocolate would be hell. And I was like, Jesus, girl.
People really coop with you, girl.
Yeah, people really like chocolate in this movie. Chocolate's delicious, but I mean, whoa.
That's an addict.
Yeah, exactly. That's an addict personality right there.
But yeah, so like, so he takes a bite as well, and he says, if you help me out, basically, I'll give you a lifetime supply of chocolate.
Yeah.
And so, like, now they're trying to figure out, and then because of the influence of the chocolate, now they start getting ideas of how to break out to sell chocolate to make the dream happen. So Noodle mentions that the only time Scrubbit kind of slips is when, like, an aristocrat comes to the laundry,
because she was about that life. Yeah, she wants that money. Yeah.
So they're like, I think we can make that happen. Do you have a pen and paper? So basically, their plan is to make Scrubbit and Bleacher fall for one another, so they kind of lack on their duties, and he's able to sneak out as what's her name, Noodle, is delivering laundry through the city.
Bleacher coming out in those lederhosen, man. Oh my
because
God.
So what happened is the next day, as he's escorting them, he's taking roll or whatever, and then he's escorting them to the basement so they can start the scrub.
Yeah.
What's his name? Wonka says, you don't like. She's yelling at. Oh, Scrubbit is yelling at Bleacher, and he goes,
saying the toilet's clogged.
Yeah, and Wonka's like, you don't realize like she is in love with you.
Yeah,
like if you just clean yourself up, take a bath.
Yeah,
and he just goes, the more skin the better. And this was weird. He was like, the more skin the better. And I was like, oh, all right. Wonka.
Yeah, because it was like, you want to impress a lady, show her your ankle, show her your knee, show her your thigh.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like where is this going right now, man?
Weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as he's doing the kind of convincing Bleacher, Noodle is up with Miss Scrubbit. Like the mail has been delivered, and like Noodle is looking at something. Noodle's also a big bookworm or something like that.
Yeah,
it's something that she thought was mentioned earlier. And so she's reading a book, and she's like opening a parcel, and it shows a picture of like she's reading about some aristocrats in like some country.
Yeah, the aristocrats from Bavaria.
Yeah. And so,
which is a region in Germany.
And so she Scrubbit takes the photo of this aristocrat, and it's Baron, von something, whatever it is. But it has a striking resemblance to
Bleacher.
And then next thing you know, Bleacher comes out in these later hosen.
Oh my god!
Thighs just out, baby.
Man. Oh man! Yeah, it's.
He was like, funny. "Oh, you notice little old me?"
Yeah. Oh, and he even like bends down in front of the door and everything.
And like, so they automatically kind of just like, fall for one another.
Yeah. Well, it's so good because we're talking about this being like for a family, right? Mm-hmm. For like adults watching this, you're like, oh, he's trying to get it, but this is also funny because how he's trying to do it. Mm-hmm. Little kids will be grossed out because it's this kind of hairy man coming out in short ass lederhosen and like wiggling his butt around. It's like, yeah, it's good for good for everybody with this. Yeah.
And so before Wonka sneaks out, he beckons the dog. I can't remember the dog's name.
Yeah.
And he just basically creates this contraption as like a washing machine.
Yeah.
That does all their work for them so they don't have to scrub. And the mechanism that is running the machine is just the dog running after a piece of Wonka's pants because of the whole mailman.
Because he wants to chase mailman. The dog wants to chase mailman, so which is the dog gets to do it, and we don't have to do work because.
Yeah. So now the people who have been forced into servitude don't have to do any work.
Yeah.
The machine does it for them, and so with that he bids them adieu. He leaves with Noodle and goes into the city to sell chocolate.
Yeah.
And as soon as he's about to sell it, he realizes that whatever jar he has is empty.
Yeah.
And he's like, shit, the guy...
the little orange man. The little orange man with the green hair. Yeah. And it's like, what the fuck is this man talking about?
And it's like, it's very much that buddy cop thing.
Yeah.
The straight lace guy and the loose cannon type of thing.
Yeah.
So the Noodle, their chemistry played well because she's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, like, absolutely not.
Are you sure you didn't just eat candy all your candy in the middle of the night?
Exactly, because that's what Noodle would have done. Noodle would have eaten all that candy.
And so, he's like, no, it's got to be the orange man. Or actually, that makes sense.
Yeah, he was like, actually, that does make a lot of sense. But it's cool. But that's so Wonka because Wonka knows the orange man's real, but also, Noodle would, prefer to hear him say, no, that makes sense. Yeah. So he's kind of work in the situation.
I'm not gonna. There's no way I can convince you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so he's like, well, now there's no problem. Now I just need to make more chocolate.
Yeah. But I'm all out of milk.
And so Noodle goes to snatch milk from somebody's house from the carton, but he's like, we don't steal.
Yeah.
He was like, and besides that, I need a special type of milk. I need giraffe's milk.
Do giraffes make milk like that?
I don't know.
They're mammals, so they have to. Because mammals make milk, but Sorry, I'm literally trying to think of does anyone?
I saw the wheels turn.
Yeah, I'm just oh my god.
But yeah, so luckily there's a zoo in this town.
Yeah.
And so Wonka says luckily the little orange man didn't take this piece of chocolate that he keeps in his cane.
Yes.
And so Noodle presents the chocolate to the night guard at the zoo.
Yeah.
For his years of service, being the best employee, he was like, "I've only been here a year."
Yeah,
and her thinking on her face, she's like, "That's why there's only one chocolate."
Yep, makes sense.
And so he eats the chocolate or whatever, and Wonka basically said it's like a night on the town or something like that. So it's just it just slowly but surely gets him drunk.
Yeah, it's like an aperitif, white wine, red wine, something,
whiskey,
to get him in.
But it was so first he starts dancing, and then he was I think the whiskey made him do something he'll regret, so he calls his ex.
Yeah.
And then shortly after he just passes out.
Yeah.
And so they're able to they're going to the zoo, they're looking for, the giraffe's cage. and Wonka initially opens the tiger cage.
Yeah. Oh, he's like, oh, this one, absolutely. Yeah, he opens it,
and this is where we find out that he can't read.
Yes. Which makes sense because he signed that paper even after.
And I think that makes more sense too because it's like with him signing the contract, I thought it was like he saw that it was fucked up, but it was like I'll get out of it, no problem.
100%.
But now it's a little bit different. It was like he just truly couldn't read it at all.
Yeah, that was actually my exact same thought when I first. He was just that confident in himself that he would get out of it.
And then also I think it goes him saying like he just. Basically, always dependent on the kindness of strangers. That's not what he said. That's obviously going with the wind.
But basically, that's what he was doing.
He's just his belief in people is how he believes he's gotten this far.
So he's a sucker.
Yeah.
All right.
Naivete. We talked about it. And so they go into the correct cage for the giraffe, and I think her name was like Adeline. Abigail. Sorry.
Yeah, Abigail the giraffe.
And so like he respectfully asked Abigail that if Noodles scratches her chin because they love a certain type of candy,
like a acacia mint or something like that,
and they like being scratched on the chin.
Yes.
So he says, if Noodles scratches you on the chin, can I get a pint of milk?
Yes.
And so like I
didn't see no udders on this giraffe. I'm just throwing that out.
That's also surprised they went with it because it was like I said, it's. In my mind, it was still a kids' movie at this point.
Exactly.
So it's just like I don't think kids need to be seeing this.
Yeah, right. I'm like, as an adult, I'm like, there's only one thing you could be milking right now. And I'm like, but it's a girl. It's Abigail. That don't make sense. I'm like,
oh my god, this is why we're not. Oh my god, we've lost the spark. That's what it is. We're not children anymore.
I know, right? The world's made us bitter old men.
But yeah, so as he's retrieving the milk from from Abigail. We get a bit of what's Noodles' backstory.
Yes.
She's an orphan, and she's always dreamed of like finding her parents. Mm-hmm. She's hoping that like they exist in a house like just full of books, whatever. And then she has a necklace, and around on that necklace is a ring, with the letter N on it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's how she got her name.
Yeah, because it starts with N. It could be Nora, could be whatever.
Yeah, or it could be nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it was just like, so she has that dream, but she's also, I mean, it's been years of her searching and stuff like that. So like, she's also kind of given up.
Yeah.
And just, that's why, and like her, she's also basically under servitude to Mrs. Scrubbit. But her years are, I think she has like
3 times as much.
3 times as much because they were charging her as a baby, which, I mean, capitalism.
Yeah, right. You know, Scrubbit's a businesswoman. All right. Can you really fault her for that? Is really the question. All right.
So the one thing I will say about this part, this is a little bit before, is they left the house during the day.
Yes.
And then they just jumped to night.
And
I was like,
very confused.
The fuck is going on? Because I thought you needed to sell this chocolate.
Exactly. So it did not make sense. And also, like, you went out during the day and like you'll be back by roll call, but now it's like super late at night.
Yeah. Like the shoes closed. Like,
exactly.
It did throw me off a bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, they have, this is what I was saying, the musical number that I kind of
This was a good one. Yeah.
So like Noodle starts singing about like her dreams or whatever, and then Wonka kind of chimes in.
Yeah, because Noodle's like, I wish this day would never end because I almost forgot to be sad.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh geez, man, it's sad little
keep
girl.
That girl out of the coop.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm like, all right. But yeah, that was a really cool scene. Yeah, and then they're like skipping across with balloons and everything. Very whimsical, very nice. Yeah, great scene.
And then so like as they're so this is like they free the flamingos.
Yeah,
because he mentions like I think Noodle says, why don't they fly away? And Wonka says they don't have anybody to lead them.
Yeah, because they've never thought about it. They need someone to show them the way.
And so like as they're leaving, he grabs some balloons and they kind of fly out of there on like rooftops and shit like that. And then as they're flying away, the deputy calls the chief because once again the chief has been signed to kill Wonka, and he goes, you know that guy you were looking for? He's here. So like then they're at the fountain, and the police chief comes up. What's his name? Wonka sends Noodle away. He's just like, don't worry about it. I'll talk my way out of this, no problem.
Yes.
And then immediately the police chief comes up and like just slams his head into the. It was like, first of all, the fountain was like iced over.
Yeah, iced over.
So first he slammed his head in some ice and then into the water, and then he starts threatening him to leave. And then he pulls up and he says, "Did you hear what I said?" He was like, "Not a one word."
Not a one word. He's like, "Oh, wise guy," and he just does it again. But then he pulls up and says, "How about now?" He's like, "There's water
in my ears."
Yeah.
He goes, "Look, guy, I don't like." He knows that he's been assigned to kill him. He's like, he doesn't want to kill him.
Yeah, but he will.
So he's just like, just don't sell any chocolate anymore. It was like, or the next time you're selling chocolate, chocolate, you'll get more than a bonk on the head. And he's like, I don't have a bonk on the head. He was like, oh, what am I thinking? And he just pops.
Yeah, very good. Very funny. Yeah.
And so, like, he finds his way home, and he goes back into the basement and makes it before roll call. And this is where you find out, like, the other servants or whatever have just been, like, chilling all day because their work has been done.
Like, I think maybe they had to do a little bit of stuff, but, like, barely anything. Yeah, so it worked out well.
And so I think this is where we get a bit of the backstory. And you find out that Crunch...
Yeah,
the older gentleman was actually the accountant for Slugworth for a week.
Yes, for 1 week because his other accountant was sick or something.
Yeah, and then but he noticed that there were two ledgers. There was the one that he presented to authorities, and then there was a separate one.
Yeah,
and so once he found that out, Slugworth just fired him.
Yeah, because he went in the green, and it's a green book that they have, and in it details every person they've ever bribed. It details everything they do. It details the fact that all three chocolatiers are working together, and they all cut their chocolate.
Yeah, they cut their chocolate, and they keep it housed underneath the cathedral.
What the fuck you mean you cut your chocolate and you water it down?
I'm just saying, not a St. Pierre.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay,
you cutting this shit? You cutting my shit?
Yeah.
I can see some kids out there like. You thought I wouldn't know.
Yeah, rubbing on the gum. Like, Nah.
You got me fucked up.
This is only 44% cacao. I don't fucking think so, motherfucker.
Motherfuckers cutting the cacao. But yeah, so then we get a backstory, like you said, they're not necessarily, they are all in cahoots. Yes. They play it as if they're rivals, but they're in cahoots, and they basically bully any new people trying to come in.
Yep.
Because that's what he mentioned. Willie had mentioned the police chief.
Yeah.
And he was like, the cops come after you. He was like, yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
And that's why you get this backstory. It was like they're using their money and their influence to basically push out any other new chocolatiers and anybody else, because they just literally, they're sitting on a full bank vault of chocolate.
Yeah.
That they can use to they just pay people in chocolate.
Yes. And that's why they have to keep chocolate expensive, so no one can really have it as well.
Yeah. And so I think everybody goes up to the room or whatever, and then you see Willie, he because their rooms are on the rooftop, basically on the top floor. So he links a little wire from his window to Noodles to send her just a jar of chocolate. Yeah. Because he promised her a lifetime supply. He's a man of his word.
Yep.
And so they're talking, and she sends him something back, and it's the letter A. Yeah. But he goes, "What is this? The glass half full?"
Yeah, glass half empty. Yeah.
She's like flipping around. He's like, "Oh, now it's half full." Yeah. And he's like, "It's the letter A, jackass." Yeah. But he was like, because now she's going to teach him how to read.
Yeah, because her business partner can't, has to know how to read.
Yeah.
So she's in with trying to figure this thing out from the sell chocolate.
And then they're also trying to figure out because of the fact that because of the fact that they don't have a shop, the cops are going to stop them whenever. So then this is where you get the other servants, like the plumber is there's. Because he's he's a magician, so on a stage there's trapdoors, there's pulleys, there's all these different things in order to create the illusion. Yeah. But you don't have that on the street. And it was like the plumber goes, there's sewer grates.
Yeah, all the manholes.
Yeah, all the manhole
covers. Yep.
And then
the telephone woman can do operations or communication. The comedian's useless.
He was like, you need a guy that can talk underwater.
Yeah, I can make it sound like I can talk underwater. And I'm like, okay.
And then they also wake up Crunch, who's like, I mean, y'all could do all that shit, but it's gonna be for naught. Yeah. And then Noodle goes, just try his chocolate. Yeah. And she throws him a piece of his chocolate, and he was like, when do we start?
Yeah, when do we start? I'm in. Yep, absolutely. Because chocolate does that.
So clearly this chocolate is amazing. And so now we just get a montage of them sneaking out every day. And you get also more of basically Scrub It and Bleach are just in love. Yep. They're not doing any of their jobs.
Exactly. They're just hanging out, making out all day. Yeah.
And so now we get another a song and just a montage of them sneaking out every day, selling chocolate in the gallery.
Police keep trying to find it, but they can't.
And then he keeps disappearing into the manholes.
Yeah. Also, at this point in time, the captain's getting steadily fatter.
Yes.
Yeah. It's getting steadily fatter and fatter. Yeah.
And so, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think they just they have all of that going through, and then they figure out that it's the manholes or something like that. But then it doesn't really matter.
Not yet. Yeah. So and then so one night before before. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, they're basically making a bunch of money, and people are loving all his different candies. So I think it started with, and it was cool because every candy is like unique and it has a unique purpose. So it's just like, if you need hair, I got this for you.
Yeah.
If there was a guy that didn't have confidence, because he asked a woman to marry him. But he doesn't say it. She was like, I'm looking for a venture. And he was like, you know what? That's not me.
No, that's not me. She's like, could that be you? I want a man who's going to sweep me off my feet, take me in like a life of adventure. He's like, nah, not me.
Sorry, and so like Willie gives him a confidence boost chocolate. So it's just like, that's all the stuff is selling.
Yeah.
And they're able to escape, and before they're actually caught.
Yeah. It is one thing we're here. Just like, I mean, yes, obviously Willy Wonka had a ton of crazy chocolates in the Willy Wonka movie, but his classic Wonka bar in the movies was a plain piece of chocolate, a delicious piece of chocolate, but still regular chocolate. So like, I want to see more regular chocolate here too. Like, I guess it's just not as much fun as like all the whimsical chocolate.
Well, so think about like I think maybe in the classic Wonka bar is what he sold to the public. And then like, I'm trying
all his testing stuff.
Because remember, like the stuff that made the homeboy float. And
he already had
and
that.
Turned him purple. And all. I feel like that was stuff he kept to himself.
Fair,
but he just mass produced the Wonka bar.
Yeah,
possibly. I don't know. I can't remember if there was any other Wonka products on the shelves.
Oh, there was definitely a ton of Wonka products on the shelves, but it did kind of seem like all his normal stuff. Again, this is the movie, like the old movie. It seemed like everything that was getting sold was just normal kind of stuff. But I mean, again,
well, who wants to taste that all this stuff? Come on.
Yeah. Me. Yeah, I love chocolate. Chocolate's delicious. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're leading yourself up to the lawsuit.
I'd bonk someone on the head for a piece of chocolate. All right, I'm just saying. All right, me and the cat.
Just watching out. I got a golden ticket.
You don't. Not anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's just a montage of them selling chocolate and escaping, and the last time they escape, you see, one of the last time he escapes, like I guess a piece of his pants or something rips off, and the police chief is like, oh, like right as he's going into the manholes, he was like, that's how he's escaping.
Yeah,
and so he says, I want a man on every manhole in this city.
Yeah.
And so, like, from there...
But then his deputy's like, should we focus on the murder? She's like, no. This is way more important.
Which I'm like, what the fuck is going on in this town?
Right, yeah.
Like, we got a lot of open murder cases.
There's a lot of murders we got to pay. No. This is
all chocolate related.
Yeah.
I assume is just convenient.
Yeah. Well, that's why you use a chocolate knife, it'll melt. And it works out well.
But yeah, so then we see that the police chief has discovered where they've been sneaking in and out of, out of Scrubbits. Because he recognizes like all five of them, except for Noodle.
Yeah.
And Slugworth recognizes Noodle, so
it could be the girl or whatever. Yeah.
And they mentioned it was like you said that you handled that or something like that. And so like they tell what's his name? They tell the chief to back down because he also said, and this is, should have mentioned it. They got the money to buy a shop.
Yes, yeah, and with all of this.
Yeah, so because of that, the police won't be able to hassle them anymore because they have a shop.
Yeah, well, that's why I thought it was weird. They're like, we discovered the manholes. It did not matter that they discovered the manholes because they have a shop already. So it's like as soon as they discover it, too late. They bought the shop. Yeah,
but yeah, so he just tells the police chief to back down. Don't worry about it.
Since they know that the Scrubber thing. Yeah,
and so Slugworth goes to visit Scrubbit.
Yeah,
and they just make a deal.
Yes,
you don't know what it is, and then shortly after, in Wonka's room, he's asleep, and we see somebody sneak in to try to grab a jar of chocolate.
Yeah,
but Wonka has rigged his room to trap the person who's been stealing.
Yeah.
And so like this person like steps on a trap, gets thrown across the room, and then just trapped in a jar.
Yeah.
And then Wonka says, "Aha!" And now we see it. You finally see the orange man.
It's the Oompa Loompa,
and it's an Oompa Loompa named Lofty. And
I did have a fun thing. He was like him even setting up. He's like, I'll tell you what's going on, but it's going to be something that's stuck in your head. And Wonka's like, no. Then he's like, Oompa Loompa.
He's like, once we started, we can't stop.
We can't stop. That's how Oompa Loompas work. Yeah.
And so you just come to find out that Lofty has been following him for like 3 years. He mentioned it earlier because of the fact that during his travels, Wonka had went to Oompa Loompa Land and found these coca beans.
Yeah.
And stolen them, but they were the only coca beans on the
island.
island.
Yeah.
And Lofty was guarding those beans and had fallen asleep. So because of that, he had been banished.
Yeah.
To and the only way he could come back is if he collected the debt from Wonka, and it was like 1,000-fold or something.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just how
Oompa Loompas are, man. They are vengeful little bastards. Oompa Loompa, man.
So that's why he's been following Wonka and stealing his chocolate.
Yeah,
and he was like just collecting the debt.
For the record, not all of Wonka's chocolate could have come from those 4
I think it was just like its interest.
Exactly. I'm just saying, like.
But yeah, so we finally meet the Oompa Loompa. We finally get the back. I thought that was cool, him following him.
Absolutely, that was great. And again, like every scene with Oompa Loompa was great.
Yeah. And so the next day we go there finally.
So Wonka lets him out because that's how he. He lets him out, and then the guy is like, "Oh, can you pass me that frying pan?" Wonka's like, "Oh, this was it. No, the heavy one." He's like, "Oh, okay, cool." Because they're like, Wonka thinks they're coming to an agreement or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, "No, hand it to me." He's like, "Now come close." Bonk! Just bonks him on the head and splits. Oh, ridiculous!
I was like, "But you can't be this night. That's just not way to run a business."
Yeah, no, exactly. He does not run a business well because he's just giving chocolate out for willy-nilly. Yeah.
And so the next day they open up the shop, and it was like, this is another thing. We're just like magic, like kind of magic, right? Yes. So it's just like they have the chocolate river, they have all the cotton candy clouds, all that. Yeah, just like this bridge and like this tree. Like people are eating, like everything is basically edible, just like the original. Yep. Just like everything you see is edible. So people are eating flowers and branches and stuff like that, and it's just very magical. And it was like I can really appreciate this homage to like the original.
Yeah. Though again, I mean, if you look at the original, and this is the same with the books, Wonka was like super isolated for like years and years at the beginning of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So like, what caused that? And obviously, something
I think later. That's why there's such a disparity. But it's also a young Wonka. You don't know how old.
That's true. Yeah.
That man was, like the Gene Wilder's character was. So it was just like. I think, and maybe that's why the comparisons are so weird, because of the fact that it was like, how do you go from here to here?
Exactly, and there's
if all we have is these 2 points,
like what the hell happened in between everything? For sure, yeah.
But obviously, it's a prequel, so exactly. Like you give it a worth of leniency.
Yeah,
but yeah, so like they're basically selling out. Everybody's there just enjoying the chocolate.
Yeah,
one guy like buys $90 worth of chocolate, and it was cool because he was like, "Do you want it in change or chocolate?
Yeah.
Do you want your change in actual money or chocolate?"
Yeah.
And dude was like, "Oh, chocolate."
So that means they got $100.
Yeah.
Because it was just a little more chocolate. Yeah.
And so as he's walking out, this was the first guy, this older gentleman, that kind of criticized the shop because it didn't look good until like the magic happened.
Yeah.
And so like as he's walking out, I think he was their first customer. His I think his hair starts growing.
Yeah, I can't remember what
it's
color.
Like blue. I thought it was
blue. Yeah, he started turning into blue. Like his hair was growing out blue. Yeah. His eyebrows getting all bushy, growing a beard. Yeah.
And like Wonka sees it, and he tastes the one of the chocolates that he bought, and he was like, "That's Yak's
Yeti sweat." He's like, Yeti sweat.
And he was like, "Holy shit!" And he was like,
for the record, Wonka's putting Yeti sweat in chocolate.
Also, why'd you collect it?
I mean, apparently it's delicious, but like, come on. Like, if you think about it, these ingredients are kind of gross. There's flies that fly out your butt. There's Yeti sweat.
They didn't even mention that. It was just like, it'll fly until it gets tired. 20 minutes later, and then fly out your butt. I'm just like, I could have had a sandwich.
I know, right? I want to fly. That sounds cool. But to have like an insect crawl out my butt, I don't know.
Blue Beetle did it.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
But yeah, so this guy, his supply has been sabotaged, and I think it was just very funny because like Wonka, once he realizes, he goes to tell people, it was like, "Oh, don't eat the flowers or whatever.
Yeah. They've been poisoned."
This woman goes, "Why?" And like her hair, her mustache is
she's growing green, and then like the other little girl, like she's growing like an orange mustache or whatever.
There's like certain people actually changing colors and things like that. So it's just like basically you don't know what, but some of the supply, they said poison. I called it sabotage.
Yeah, well, he said it was poison in the thing, but yeah, it wasn't really poison.
Yeah, poison means a different thing, Wonka.
I mean, I don't know, the dictionary.
Unless he just wanted to immediately get people to like stop eating it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like people are furious because of this, and they start just destroy the shop.
Yeah, the mother of the little girl with the mustache, like, "You give my daughter a mustache," and she cuts something down and lights it on fire.
She cuts down like a chandelier.
She escalated quickly. All of them. She was like, "Well, fuck it, we're burning this thing."
I was like, you could shave a mustache.
There's a lot of
Joyce.
Here. Yeah, a lot of options before this step.
You stepped on my baby's toe, death.
I know, right? Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
But so out of outrage, all the customers destroy the shop. And like Willie's just like kind of like disheartened because one, the shop was destroyed, but then he was also like, she said, talking about his mom again, he says, she said, when I shared my chocolate with the world, she'd be there.
Yes.
And I think even though he knows she's gone, he still has this hope that him creating chocolate will bring her back. Yeah. Right? I guess it leans into that naivete or whatever. Or just, I guess, maybe hope.
Yeah, hope. Yeah.
And so, like, Noodle is just, trying to be more optimistic, saying, we can rebuild. Like, this is an issue. Like, we can fix this. And he's just not trying to hear it. Yeah. I think Crunch sees that. He's like, let's just give him a moment. Yeah. So they leave. And when they leave, the candy cartel comes.
Yes. Yeah.
And he was like, what, are you here to glow? And he was like, no, I would never do that. No. Yeah. And he was like, Willie correctly deduces that they were the reasons for it. They had Scrub It and Bleacher basically sabotage his chocolate supply. And he's like, we came to offer you a deal, basically. Yeah. They're like, we'll buy out the contracts for all of you and your friends, but you have to leave
and never
make chocolate again. Yeah. And like he's sitting there thinking, but he's just like, I mean, he said, and I think he goes back to Noodle. He's like, I did promise that I would change her life.
Yep. Yeah.
And getting her out of servitude, because he was like, they were giving her, because obviously she had more years than everybody else. So they were giving her more money, not just to get out of servitude, but like to get a little house, and to just be set up for life. And so Willie's just like, I mean, this makes sense.
Yeah, like sure, I'll never make chocolate again, but after not seeing my mom, I don't want to make chocolate right now. Yeah,
and so
it's just the all is lost.
He takes the deal. There's a ship heading out that at midnight or some shit like
North Pole.
Yeah, and like so they give him a ticket, and so he leaves.
Yep. Yeah.
They see him off, and like as the boat's riding away, as the boat's riding away,
the captain the chief of police looks at the captain, nods at him, so something's going to happen.
And then like when they're he's sitting on the deck of the ship, and Lofty comes, and he's like, I don't care what where you go, you owe me chocolate.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm going for it. But then he's like, and I can't believe you're traveling in like premium economy. Yeah. I only travel first class. And he like opens a box and it has this whole thing. Yeah.
And so as they're sitting there, driving away on a boat, Willie notices something on his hand, and because of the fact that Slugworth, whenever he shakes your hand, he shakes it hard.
Yep. That's what a businessman does.
Yeah. Right. And so what Wonka notices, like there's an emblem kind of engraved in his hand now from a ring that Slugworth was wearing.
Yeah, and it's like an A.
And it has an A, but and like I think S is around it or something like that.
For
Slugworth.
Well, I know. I'm trying to remember what his name is. Like
Arthur.
Was it Arthur?
Yeah.
I thought it was some kind of fancy weird name. But yeah, fair.
His brother's name was fancy as shit.
Yes, that's what it
was aggressive. Zebedee. A to Z.
Yeah, Zebedee.
What are you, a fucking a Lorax?
Yeah, exactly. Little Dr. Seuss mixed in.
But yeah, so he notices the A and the S's are very similar to what the ring that Noodle had.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, something's not right here. I need to go back. So he goes to stop the captain to get him to turn around, and the captain has abandoned ship. There's the stern. What is it? The
steering wheel.
Steering wheel has been locked with the ropes, and then beneath it is just a bunch of bombs.
A bunch of dynamite. It's like the most cartoony thing of dynamite ever. And they're like, uh-oh.
And then immediately, fucking Lofty has like a life jacket on. And it's like, all right, we out. So they jump. The boat explodes, and then like the chief goes, one dead chocolatier.
Yeah.
And so like they pay him, and what must be a ton of chocolate.
Yeah, literally.
On top of his car.
The biggest box, it's like 4 times the size of his car. Yeah. They just put it on top of the car. Yeah.
And so the next day you see that what's her name? Scrub It is just releasing all of her servants. She says all of them have been paid off.
Yep. Yeah, because she tells them Wonka made a deal. They got money for everybody. Everyone's paid off.
And so everybody goes to leave, and then finally it's Noodle's turn. And you see her stack of money was like, yours a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
But it wasn't to release her. It was to keep her there.
Yeah.
And so she locks Noodle in the coop.
Yeah.
But then as she's sitting there, she sees a bird, and and this is why she still remains hopeful.
Yeah.
Like you can't break my spirit, basically. And so as she's looking at a bird sitting at the window, you see Wonka show up.
Yeah.
And like he has this ridiculously long ladder. he just unscrewing the latches to the door.
Yeah.
And this was another funny thing too. Is just like they're all talking or whatever, and like slowly but surely, each one of them arrive at. It was like, where are they coming?
Yeah, wow. Except for the plumber, because they span out, and the plumber's still holding on the ladder. But everyone else, I'm like, where did you all come from here? Yeah.
I guess this is the cartoonness of it, but it was just like they need to break Noodle out, and they need to stop the cartel.
Yeah, and they need to get the Green Book.
And that's the only way they can stop them is to get the Green Book.
Yeah.
And so they're hatching a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so first they go and they kidnap, not kidnap.
Yeah, they get the giraffe.
They steal the giraffe.
Yeah.
First, they knock out the guard again because it's like, you know what, they because of a crunch, they know what they need to go through.
Yes.
At they keep the Green Ledger in the vault underneath the cathedral.
Yes. Yeah.
And the cathedral, it's guarded by chocoholic monks.
Mm-hmm.
Father Julius. In the vault itself, there's another woman that's guarding,
security guard.
that's standing outside. So like now they knew all these things and like they come up with a plan. So they steal the giraffe, and they basically set it loose. So first, before they set it loose, Noodle knocks on the door and says like she asked Father Julius for chocolate.
Yeah, for a piece of chocolate.
And he's like, I'm sorry, my dear, I don't have any. He turns around and immediately puts a piece of chocolate. But when he turned around, she puts some of those
like Akasha mints or whatever.
Yeah, into his pocket. And then he opens the door because there's going to be a funeral service there that day for some baron.
Yeah, yeah.
And he opens the door and he goes in. Mm-hmm. There's a knock on the door.
Yeah.
He opens it and it's a giraffe. And the giraffe starts chasing him because of the mints in his pocket.
Yeah. And he's just like, run, everyone, run, save yourselves. I know why this is happening. God, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I was weak. Yeah.
But yeah, so then what happens? He calls basically the zoo to ask them if they had lost a giraffe. Mm-hmm. Which, I don't... kind of questions.
But because they had the phone operator.
Yeah, so the phone operator, since she's been released, she's free. She goes back to her job.
Yeah.
And she's able to transfer the call not to the zoo, but to just a random payphone. Yeah. And then you have, what's his name, the comedian there.
Pretending voices. Yeah.
But it was just like, they were like making animal sounds in the background, like, just say you're at the zoo.
No. So the animal noises were key here.
Were they?
And for instance, if the comedian didn't talk to the octopus in his underwater water voice,
I get this silly. But I was sitting there once again, my actual mind. I'm not my kid. I'm just like, if I can hear all of that shit at the zoo, y'all need better cages. I don't.
Yeah, that's the zoo.
But why is your office in the middle of?
That's where the phone is. The phone's in the tiger pit. Everyone knows this.
But anyway, so basically, he calls the animal, like the animal control, to come get the giraffe. So they come with this huge cage, and they sneak Wonka and Noodle into the cage, and once they've snuck in, like they use the secret door in the what is the confession booth to get down to the candy vault. They take the giraffe out, and that way the funeral can start.
Yeah.
And so when they're in the vault, first they bring the security guard lady one of the Night on the Town chocolates. And she does the same thing that the zookeeper did. Like she starts dancing. Yeah. And then she says, I'm going to call him. No, I'm going to call him. Yeah. She calls her ex, and it just happens to be the zookeeper.
Exactly. Yeah. Who called her before.
Yeah. And then then they both pass out. Yeah. They go, Noodle and Wonka go into the vault, and they're searching for the ledger.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the funeral is going on, and there's like a traffic jam somewhere in the city
because of the flamingos.
The flamingos have escaped, and then like the Slugworth's driver turns on the radio, and there's a radio report about there being an issue at the church or whatever, and like Slugworth is immediately like, holy shit. So he calls Father Julius, who's in the middle of a sermon, and he still picks it up, and he's just like, we had a little bit of an issue,
it's fine, you got taken care of.
And then like Slugworth is like, no, something's up. And so he races to the church. At the same time, Noodle, finds the ledger. It was like hidden behind some panel in the wall. And like, so what's his name? Wonka is like looking through it, but right before he can get any actual information, Slugworth Prodnose and Fickelgruber arrive.
I'm very impressed that you remember the name so well.
Got it,
I'm
baby.
just like Chocolatiers. Yeah, I got it. Like Chocolatiers. Yeah.
These names will be on the test.
It's fair. I'm going to fail that part of the test.
And so Slugworth has a gun all of a sudden.
Yeah,
like,
right? He just bang and just aims it. I'm like, okay.
And so now we get the backstory of Noodle, and you've come to find out that Slugworth had a brother named Zederhosen.
Zebedee.
Zebedee.
Yeah, it was Zebedee. Yeah.
And then the ring that she has is not an N, it's a Z.
That was
the dumbest shit.
Shit. That was the ugliest Z I've ever seen. Because I'm like, it's this weird line there and then a thick ass.
I feel like just like the number 9, you distinguish what
exactly.
What
the number 9 is not 6. No. Yeah, that was very silly. But
silly, whatever. But anyway, his brother fell in love with a librarian,
a poor woman.
Yes,
yeah.
And they had a baby, but before he fell in love with her and then died.
Yes,
and Slugworth thought that was the end of it, but then come to find out 9 months later, Noodle was born, and her mother, Noodle was sick as a baby, so like her mother brings her to her ex's brother for help. And so
she doesn't have any money.
So Slugworth takes the baby.
Yeah.
Closes the door on the mom.
Yeah.
And then like knowing that this might be like this baby might jeopardize his stake to the family fortune. He gets rid of it. He puts it down the laundry chute.
Just chucks in the laundry chute. Yeah.
And then Scrubbit, recognizing the ring, instead of getting rid of the baby, basically holds her ransom.
Yeah.
And then the mom comes back looking for Noodle, and Slugworth just says, "Oh, she died."
Yeah,
and he just gave her a bunch of money and just sent her away.
Get out of here.
And so they're like, what was my mom's name at least or whatever? And he was like, I don't know. I don't know the poet.
He was like, yeah, you lost me on that.
And then looking through the book or whatever, Wonka finds out that her mother's name was Dorothy Smith.
Yes.
And then you find out that the lessons, the reading lessons have been working. He can actually read now.
Good for him. Next time we'll get the fine print. Yeah.
But yeah, so then Slugworth forces them into the chocolate vault, and they just basically close them in, and they're going to drown them in
death by chocolate, which is just going to fuck up all their chocolate. Yeah, that's very silly, but hey, what are you going to do? And
so they lock them in the vault.
Well, Wonka first asks, he's like, hey, well, there's a little orange man
that
needs this jar of chocolate. Can you please give it to him? And they're like, oh, of course. So they take it, and then they decide to eat it themselves after locking it.
After they lock the vault, they're stuck in the vault. They eat the chocolate that was for the Oompa Loompa, because Lofty had mentioned that you only owe me about one jar.
Yep, one jar more. Good.
And so the chocolate cartel eat the chocolate on their way up from the elevator, and then
even Father Julius is like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this anymore.
And they give him a piece
of that chocolate. He's like, never mind, I'm good. Yeah.
And so what happens is Lofty comes in.
Yeah, because the chocolate's filling up the vault, so it's almost completely done. And then they throw away the empty jar in the trash can. And then I think we do see Lofty go in.
Yeah, Lofty goes in, and he was like, that chocolate, because at the what's his name, the father's eating the chocolate. He was like, that, and he sees the empty jar, and he was like, that chocolate was for me. So he knocks out.
It's like, he's like,
he said, Oompa Loompas don't play that shit.
It's on site now. Oh, yeah.
And so he knocks out the father. He goes down into the vault and just releases them.
Yeah.
And then somehow makes it back up to the top before they.
What he does. Oompa Loompas, man, they got powers.
And so the police are all outside. I can't remember for what reason. And Slugworth was like, "Oh, no worries. There was an issue, but we fixed it." Yeah. And so you get the joke from Prodnose. He was just like, "They had a little accident." He was like, "Which means they died."
And I was like, you son of a bitch. Yeah.
But yeah, so they think that all is good, and then you see the what's his name, the police chief can't even make it out of his car
because he's so fat now.
Yeah, he goes, the car shrunk.
The car shrunk, crazy. I'm sure. Yeah.
And so they think everything's all good, and then Wonka and Noodle step out of the church with the ledger, and they hand it to the deputy.
Yeah,
and he's reading through it, and he was like, "Yeah, this is all of the a list of all the bad doings and all the bad dealings and people they paid off, and stuff like that." And Slugworth and the cartel leaving, the chief is like, "Oh, don't believe that! Like, don't believe them."
Exactly.
And then like,
the chief was like, "This is a job for me."
Yeah. So like, the chief like tries to go get the ledger, and then like the deputy says, "But chief, your name is in here."
Yeah,
a lot.
They bribed you a lot.
And then they go to arrest them. They arrest the chief and then arrest the cartel members, but they run away. But he goes, the Wonka goes, "Did you eat that chocolate?"
Yeah.
And it was like basically more of the hovering stuff with like just a Lilade effect.
Yeah.
And so they all kind of float away.
Yeah.
And then also what they did was, because Noodle was like, they're just going to, Slugworth says, it was like, we have enough chocolate to like, this won't stick, like we'll be out, shortly or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Wonka was like, yeah, I thought of that. And then like Noodle hits something. And then they trigger this explosion of all the chocolate in the vault, and it just like comes out of the fountain.
So all the chocolate they had there is now for the people. Yeah.
And so like now they're like, oh, now we're finished because we don't have money to fall back on. And so, they'll get arrested eventually. I think the clock tower goes off, and first what happens is Wonka finally like, being triumphant. Yeah. He opens the chocolate.
Yeah, because all the people are eating chocolate celebrating. So he's taking the time to look and opens the chocolate.
He opens the chocolate and you see a golden ticket basically. And his mom says the secret is not the chocolate, it's who you share it with. Yeah. And then he sees her briefly and then he realizes that like
sees his mom briefly. Yeah,
he sees her and then he realizes like, it's the friends basically it's anime. It's the friends you made along the way.
Exactly.
And so like he breaks the chocolate off into 6 pieces.
Luckily it's already in like a 6 squares, so it's just
his mom knew.
Yeah, his mom knew. Yeah.
He breaks it off in 6 pieces and shares it with Noodle and the other 4 from the laundry. And then the clock tower goes off and he says, "I think it's time." And he was like, Noodle's like, "For what?" And he was like, "To find your mom." So he was like, "Do you know how many D. Smiths there are?" And he like the accountant goes like 117 or something like that. Yeah. But the woman who worked at the telephone thing like searched through, she made calls and they found her.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like so you get a very heartfelt moment of like her going. Basically, she works at a library, which I don't. Whatever.
Housemaid books, so it's what she wanted. It's literally in her dream. Yeah.
Noodle gets reunited with her mother, which is really sweet because it was like that was her dream to find somebody that like her hoping her parent was like living in a house of books. Yeah. Then what happens?
Wonka makes his factory.
Oh yeah, so Wonka like is working with because he gives Lofty the last payment, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll go back to my people and stuff like that." And he was like, "Well, I'm going to need somebody to taste test, like because he was like he wants to basically build an empire."
Basically, Wonka was like to Lofty, "I'm going to need someone to help me enslave all your people. So you're going to be my liaison."
There's the nuance, baby.
Like fine between the lines.
The name of this franchise, fine print. And so you see him like he buys like some castle, kind of out of the way of the town, and you just kind of see his vision of what the factory would be. So you get glimpses of like the river that flowed through, and like just the different things from the original.
I think he literally magicked it that quickly. Just throwing that.
I wasn't sure if it was happening in real time or it was his imagination.
Yeah, well, then he fed him some chocolate, so it must have been happening pretty quick. Right. Yeah, so he just magic. He was like, and poof, factory done.
But and he also sings the "Come With Me" song.
Yes,
Me, which I really enjoy.
Absolutely.
And then kind of the end of the movie, and then like during the post credits or mid credits, I guess.
They're like during credits.
You have Lofty singing because that's what Oompa Loompas do. Just basically letting you know what happened with everybody else. So like first they see that they charge Scrubbit and Bleacher with poisoning the chocolate supply, but they try to eat all of the poison, like to drink all the poison before, and they just start changing colors and growing their hair. And apparently that was a nod to another Roald Dahl. Okay. It's called the Twits.
Oh yeah, the Twits. Like yes, they were absolutely the Twits, which is also a great book. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But so they get a prison for poisoning. Then you see that the Crunch goes back to his family. The plumber goes back to like her job. Yeah. The telegram woman went back to the telegram, and then the comedian actually went back on tour and was a little bit more successful. I got back with his ex-wife.
Yep.
And so that's basically the end.
The end. So that was Wonka, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. What we always like to do is go back to our original rankings. So Mike, you gave it a 3 out of 5 Are you sticking with it? Are you changing?
I'll give it a 3.5.
You're up at 3.5?
I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
Just because of the fact that, like, not that I was like, oh God, here's another Wonka movie. I think it was just like, from the trailers, I knew that Timothée Chalamet was going to take me out of it.
Fair.
But those moments in the trailer might have been as much as you get the wackiness of him anyway. Yeah. And it was like, when he wasn't being wacky, it was another phenomenal Chalamet performance.
Yeah,
so it was just like, so I can't, it didn't really take that much away from me. For me, sorry. So yeah, I think I'll boost it to a 3.5.
Cool. I'm going to stick with my 3.5 as well because, yeah, fun, good movie. I enjoyed a little bit potentially from a canon thing with Roald Dahl, or the Dahlverse, because everything needs a universe now. Who knows? But it was a fun movie, so go check it out. But again, thank you so much for listening, everyone. We are the Meddling Kids. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can reach us at 2meddlingkids on Twitter and Instagram, or you can email us at 2meddlingkids@gmail.com. Mike, how can they reach out to you?
On Instagram at Days from Legendary.
And if you'd like to reach out to me, I am at EdHunt77 on Twitter and Instagram, and hunt.comics is my Instagram handle for all things comic related. We'll see you next week with a brand new movie.
Bye.
Catch you, everyone.
Yeah.